Okay, so I guess we'll get started. I don't know if anybody else is going to join us, but I'm sure they can as and when we do. So,
Okay.
Maeshowe is a game themed around a survival event, an actual attested survival event from the Viking sagas. In those sagas, there are two events that occurred in 1150 and then in 1153 AD. The first of those events saw a Viking Jarl go with his people and break into the tomb to loot it for treasure. And the second saw a different Jarl 3 years later take shelter there from a sudden snowstorm that brewed up. Maeshowe itself is a Neolithic tomb. It's about 5,000 years old, I think. And when you look at it in the landscape, it's not far from the sea, which is where this other Jarl had arrived. Just within an hour, he'd landed his ship, and then this sudden snowstorm had come up. And when you look at it in its landscape, you just see this sort of grass mound. And according to the sagas, what had happened was he saw this feature in the landscape. He thought it was a house, and he walked around it. He couldn't find the door. So they went up on top and came in through the roof, basically. This diagram here is Maeshowe as it is now, or as the Victorians found it, and you can see the hole in the roof is still there. And according to that saga, they had to dig themselves out. Obviously, the looters had gone in through the top and climbed back out again with ropes. They weren't planning. This other party weren't planning to do that. So this is where the survival story comes in. You've fallen into the tomb. You've got to get out before you run out of food and water. It's basically a hand management game with some other resources as well. And that's sort of the setup, as it were. Victory condition is you win or you die trying, which is always a happy experience. So on a turn-to-turn basis, what I'm going to do is play a card to the row, and then I'm going to discard one as well. And I can do that in any order. I can discard first or play first. It doesn't make any difference.
But you have to do both?
I have to do both on every turn. And discarding cards will often have a negative effect as well. So as I said, if I manage to excavate all the passage, I'm get out alive. If I run out of cards, then I haven't made it out. If I run out of health, then I've died trying. So there's two loss conditions there. Either I run out of cards or I run out of health.
How many
victory is to get rid of all the passage tokens. This is set up for an easy game here.
How many passage tokens are there?
So we've got 3 on the board here, so it's set up for an easy game. Potentially I can put another 4 in as well to make it more difficult. So that's sort of where the difficulty of the game changes in that regard. There's also, we've got 3 different mini expansions that we can shuffle into the deck to add a bit of variety and difficulty as well. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to take my first hand of 5 cards and try to share them with you as best I can. I know the image of me at least is a bit blurry. But what we've got here is a run out of food card. So if I play that into my row, I'm going to have to remove the food that I've got. Food in itself, if I run out of it, I don't die. But you can use the food during the game to increase your health. So ideally, you'd like to keep it. Excavate Passage, that's a good card that we want to play to excavate the passage. Another Excavate Passage, a third Excavate Passage, and a food card. So the food card, if I play it, will increase our food. In order to successfully excavate one passage token, we need to play 4 in a row. The final thing I want to draw attention to in my hand, in the top corner is a suit. Now there's 2 suits in the game, and both of them are present in my hand at the moment. And that's a good thing, because there's an effect in the game called Going Mad, which is simply a representation of being trapped underground, trying to dig yourself out, and the pressure getting too much. If you go mad, then you immediately have to shuffle the discard pile back into your hand and the draw pile, and then draw again. That can be a very bad thing if you've been discarding negative cards and you're trying to get out. You've just set yourself up to try and do that. But it might be something you want to make use of during the game as well, because that's really the only way you're going to get those discard cards back into the draw deck. So if you've had to discard some Excavate Passage cards, for example, then that might be the way you get them back to draw them again. At the moment, that's something we don't need to worry about. We've got 3 Excavate Passage cards in our hand. So what I'm going to do is discard the Run Out of Food. So that's going to go to the discard pile there. That makes me lose 1 health. And I'm going to play first Excavate Passage card. And make sure that in my hand at the end of the turn, I've still got the 2 different suits. So there's no way I can draw up now and suddenly go mad. So the next turn, I've drawn 2 suits. I've still only got 1 card of the second suit in my hand. I've drawn another Excavate Passage card, which is great, and another Run Out of Food card, like I just discarded. So I'm going to discard the Run Out of Food again, exactly the same as I did in the last turn. Lose another health. Play another Excavate Passage. So we're halfway towards getting rid of 1 of these passage tokens. Draw back up. This time I've got a Sleep, a Rest, and a Raven. So the Sleep will allow me to bring 1 health token back onto the board, just from, as I say, getting some rest. The Raven I take as an omen from Odin. He's as the Vikings, I've seen a raven flap down through the open roof of the tomb, come to look at us, and I take that as a good omen, so it gives me some hope and allows me to restore 2 health. Because I've got that raven there, I'm actually going to discard the Sleep, which has no negative effects with discarding it. It just means that I've lost the opportunity to add that health back onto my board. And the reason I want to discard that is to make sure that I've still got these 2 Excavate Passage cards here. So I can play a 3rd one there and 1 away from excavating another section here. I'm still immune from going mad because I've still got 2 suits present in my hand. So drawn another Excavate Passage card and Discover Treasure, which sounds like a wonderful thing.
But it isn't.
But it isn't, as Marco says. So, in the game, you're playing these 2 Viking Jarls who are trapped in the tomb together. Discovering treasure, if you play it, means that maybe your motives have changed. To get out of this tomb alive, we need to work together and cooperate. And I should say this isn't just a solo game. There is a 2-player cooperative version of it as well. Discovering treasure means that the thoughts run your head of, well, rather than us both getting out and splitting this treasure, I could just get out myself and all the treasure would be mine. Nobody would ever ask what happened to the other guy. So it removes some of that cooperative element. It removes some of your health from working together. So that's why it's a negative effect. So that second Excavate Passage card that I just drew, so I've now got the 2 Excavate Passage cards in my hand, is the same suit as the 3 that are laid here at the moment, which is brilliant. I already mentioned that if you have 2 suits in your hand, or 1 suit in your hand at any one point, you go mad. There's a flip side to that as well. If you manage to play 4 Excavate Passage cards in a row of the same matching suit, like we just have, that means you get to remove 2 passage tokens instead of 1. So suddenly we're 2/3 of the way to winning on this easy level. And because we're doing so well, I'm going to discard the food card that I've held in my hand since the start of the game. And like with the sleep card, there's no negative effects for discarding that. So we've still got 2 health, we've still got 1 food, we've removed 2 passage tokens, we're doing really well. Drawing back up, we've got another food and another escape passage.
Sorry to interrupt. So the row is never removed. It stays there until the end of the
stays there
game.
throughout the game, exactly.
Okay.
And what I can do to make this a bit clearer, if I rotate them like that, so in order to remove the next excavate passage token, now we have to start a new series of 4 cards. The previous 4 don't count towards the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
Do they? So they never get shuffled up again.
They never get shuffled up again. They're effectively they're gone from the game. So this is why we've got to be very careful not to run out of the draw pile. So I'm going to put that excavate passage there at the back of my hand. So I've got those 2 excavate passage tokens there of 2 different suits at the moment. Still in my hand, I've got the Raven. I've got the Discover Treasure card. And I've got the Food card. So what I'm going to do is play the Raven, which gives me 2 health. So I can move them back onto the board. And I'm going to discard the Discover Treasure card, which you lose 1 health for discarding it. So we've improved our health situation at the end of that round. Next hand, I've drawn an Eat card and another Excavate Passage, which is the second suit, as it were, the one I haven't played any cards of yet. So we've got 2 Excavate Passage cards in that suit now. I think what I'm going to do is play the Food card, so we get some more food onto the board. And we're going to discard the Eat, which again has no negative effects for discarding it. Drawing back up, we've got a Passage Collapse and another Raven. The Passage Collapse is an absolutely horrible card. If I play it into the row, if I'm forced to play it into the row for any reason, then I'm going to lose 2 health, and 2 of those passage token sections that I've excavated are going to come back. So I'm definitely want to discard that and get it out of my hand, which is going to cost me another health. However, I've got another Raven, so I'm going to play that in, and we're now up to full max health with 3 Excavate Passage cards in our hand. So we're set up now to really push on and get that final section out. So drawing back up, I've got another Excavate Passage and another Passage Collapse. So I'm going to discard the Passage Collapse and lose 1 health, and start this next Excavate Passage section. Drawing back up, we've got another Discover Treasure and another Excavate Passage. These are both in that alternative suit. So I've now got 4 cards in that suit and 1 in the original suit that I was playing at the start of the game. So I'm going to play that Excavate Passage there. And I'm actually going to discard 1 of the other Excavate Passages. There's no negative effects for discarding it. I've still got 2 in my hand. We've got 2 in the row. We've only got 1 section left to remove. So that's an easy one to do. And this time I've drawn 2 more Excavate Passage cards. So really we're home and dry in this game now. I'll play another Excavate Passage there. Discard 1, the same as before. So that's 3 Excavate Passages in a row. Draw up 2 more. We've got 2 Eats in our hand. Discard 1, no negative effects. Play the final Excavate Passage. And we're out.
Yeah.
So that was a quick game on the easiest level. So if I bring this camera up now.
There you are.
There we go. So does anybody have any questions? Wing, if you've got any questions, you might need to turn your microphone on unless somebody can see the chat window as well. I'm trying to record this so I can't see it.
You mean the game channel?
Mm.
I'm looking there right now. Give me a second. Oh, nothing in the chat. Yeah, this is mainly a one-player game, a solo game, but you can play it with a player count of 2.
Yeah, that's right. It was originally designed as a solo game, but since then we've come up with 2 different ways to play it as a 2-player co-op. And one of them is an open information system, and one is a closed information system. So in the closed information system, you're not allowed to communicate with each other directly. You're not allowed to tell each other what's in your hand. But you do have an option, instead of discarding a card, that you can pass it to the other player. They then have to discard down to 5 cards for their turn. The open information variant makes use of a first player marker. And in that variant, instead of playing and discarding your card, you can choose to pass the first player marker to the other player. So you effectively skip a go. In that version, you can discuss freely who's got what in their hands. So you might say to the person you're playing with, I'm set up, I can get that final excavate passage token out that we need, and sort of cooperate that way. The only the I don't want to say downside, but the difficulty in that system, if you're passing the token to somebody else so that they can go straight again and you skip your go, is an opportunity cost, basically, because you can only do that if you're in possession of the marker. So that's the 2 different systems we've got for making it a 2-player co-op game.
And you have a separate health bars or a shared health bar? Separate, as I recall.
Separate health bars, yeah. Shared food resource, and obviously you're both excavating the same passage. You're both working from the same draw deck. You both share the same discard pile, but you do have separate health bars. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Is there what is the base count of those passage tokens for a normal game? 6, 5?
5 would probably be a fairly challenging game that you'd play most of the time. Once it gets up to 6 and 7, it really gets quite difficult. It's doable, but it is difficult because you're limited to the amount of cards in the deck.
Yeah, and you have to draw up 12.
Yeah, so really to get all of those tokens out, you're having to play all of your excavate passage cards. So I discarded quite a few there in that game because it was an easy thing to do. So you've really got to maximise your efficiency in terms of managing your resources, managing the cards, and drawing back up at the appropriate time, shuffling the discard back into the draw pile at certain times. So it really becomes quite challenging at that point.
Yeah, I got the feeling you got pretty lucky with your demo right there.
I did.
It went
actually,
pretty smooth.
I played the demo game on the easy level for Essen last weekend, and I lost. So.
Yeah, because you drew up the right cards at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat design you got there.
Thank you.
I have to say. I figured I got most of the rules right. I just read the rule book up to now. I haven't played it yet, but I had a pretty good sense what the game would be like.
Good. It's reassuring that the rules make sense.
Yeah, definitely. And right now, it's up to us to make it look pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, Marco's doing the graphic design for us. I should mention that.
Yeah, I've struggled. It's ongoing work right now, and I'm struggling with my equipment right now because I purchased a new graphic tablet and have to get used to it before I can get to work again.
I'm sure you'll get there.
I'm really looking forward to get this out in the open because I think it's a really cool little game. It's quick to play, quick to set up.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games that has definitely an appeal to there's a niche for solo players or co-op players. I think there are pretty few 2-player co-op games out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really good addition, I think.
I think so, and I think the length makes it hit a niche as well. You know, it's that sort of filler length game. I mean, my partner's not a big board game player. She describes anything over half an hour as being a long game.
Oh dear.
Something that's shorter that fits into that time frame, but it's still an interesting game. Always sort of gets my attention a bit. Hi.
Hi.
Hello? Maybe I missed this. Were there any action tokens in this version?
No, the action tokens have been streamlined out now, effectively. So we only have the food tokens and the health tokens. Have you played the original PMP version?
I did. I played it maybe like a year ago.
Okay. Yeah. How do you think this compares?
Smoother.
Yeah, I think so.
I just remember the action token was the one thing I was a little confused about. So.
Yeah, I think this is much more streamlined now, and a bit quicker as well. I think previously you could get into a bit of a grind at a certain point once you knew what you were doing, and at that point the game just overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, in my experience, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like you could go through the deck multiple times.
Yeah.
So what's a 30-minute game? It was like an hour long or.
Yeah. Yeah. This as I say, it's vastly streamlined now. Doing away with those action tokens, and then this sort of modular aspect to it as well. So we haven't really gone into them, but the fact we've already got these 4 different micro expansions, 3 different micro expansions, 4 cards each, which will be included in the box. They're not separate items, and they're sort of there's each one of those expansions has two types of 2 different cards in them, and they're sort of super powerful cards, either super powerful bad or super powerful good. So they again, depending on the luck of the draw, they can make the game a lot easier or a lot more difficult, but they add variety to the game and make you adopt different strategies and explore playing it in different ways.
Got it. Cool. So the losing conditions, is it you run out of food or you run out of health?
Running out of health, or reaching the end of the draw pile and having no more cards to draw.
Or getting mad.
Going mad simply means that I will shuffle the discard pile back into the draw pile. So it's actually something that you're going to want to do at certain points.
I see.
Got it. Okay.
As we were saying, if you've got lots of these excavate passage tokens or lots of these passage tokens that you need to excavate. So I'm pointing at a board here you can't see. If there's lots of excavate passage tokens that you want to excavate and you've already discarded some of the excavate passage cards, as I did, then you're going to need to shuffle those back into the draw pile. But it also means that you're shuffling back in all of those bad cards that you've discarded, and you're going to have to deal with them all over again. So choosing the right time to do that, if you can choose to do it, can be quite important. I mentioned that I lost the easy game demo at Essen Digital last week, and it was exactly that. I had one more token left, one more passage section left to excavate, and I could see that I was running out of cards, and I needed to go mad to be able to draw some more excavate passage cards. So I was desperately trying to set myself up with just one suit in my hand that I could go mad and shuffle it back in, but I couldn't quite draw the cards that way.
Got it. Do you, so I know this was the easy version, it's the 3 passage, and then it could go up to 7. Do you have to adjust the deck? Give it what? game you'll
exactly
play?
exactly the same deck. The only times the decks change are if you're using some of those expansions.
Oh.
How many different cards are there in the base game?
Different types of cards or number of cards total?
No, different types.
Top of my head, I think there's 8.
Without the mini expansions.
Without the mini expansions, yeah. And it's a reasonable mix between good cards and bad cards. Obviously, the most common card is the Excavate Passage card, because you need to be playing so many of them. But they're not so common that that you can always do it. I did get lucky there with the draw.
And how long?
I think
how long have you been
those
working?
Cards that I've got left in the draw pile there. There's only 5 more Excavate Passage cards left in the deck.
Oh, really?
So I did get lucky with the draw there.
And how long have you been working on the concept of this game? I mean, the PnP version is out for how long now?
The PnP version came out in 2016, so just over 4 years ago now. I haven't been actively working on it all of that time. It was a very sort of intense period of design and development in 2016. I think it had changed a lot during those sort of few months when I was first working on it. It's then been parked on Board Game Geek as a print and play game for all of that time, and it's just this year that we started working with Dragon Dawn Productions, and Nicholas Petraka came on board as developer, and his insight into it has been crucial in bringing it up to where it is now. It needed that kind of external set of eyes to look at it critically. So I felt like I could see the faults in the game, but I was hitting a wall in terms of dealing with them and ironing them out, which he's done very well.
Are you lucky you have a solo game at hand now that is much easier to playtest in the current conditions?
Yeah, it's 2020, the year of solo gaming.
Yeah, the peak of solo gaming.
The 2 suits, is it equal in the deck, or is it favored towards one?
The 2 suits. You're right. There is more of one suit than the other.
Oh, okay.
And that's something again that Nicholas has been working on the development side, really trying to balance that in an appropriate way. So yeah, the suit that I started playing there at the start of the game was the suit. I know you couldn't really see the suits too clearly, but it was the suit that there's more of in the deck. Suddenly it swung towards the end of the game there, where I had more of the other one coming up in my hand.
Do you actually? I mean, there are game developers, game authors out there who actually do the maths on the how do you call it? On the chances to draw something. Do you do that as well, or is it just playtesting?
Nicholas has done that in his rebalancing of the deck. The original PnP one, the original PnP game I used actually made use of a standard deck of playing cards.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that.
So some of the cards, again, your Excavate Passage was the most common card in the deck that used more than one different type of card. But some of the balance was provided just from what cards. There's 4 kings in a deck of 52, and that was so in a way that's thousands of years of playtesting to arrive at the maths of a deck of cards.
So I think that this new deck, is it still 52 cards, or is it more, less?
It's fewer. I should know off the top of my head how many are in here, but I don't. I'm just quickly going to count off. I think it must be about 40.
Okay. Yeah.
36.
36. Okay.
Yeah, which was the number that was in my head actually. It's about 40, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah, so there's 36 cards there. There's another 12 cards, in the expansion decks at the moment. We may get some more little sort of mini expansions as well. So it's 36 cards in the core deck, and at the moment there's 48 in the game. So yeah, it's had a lot of rebalancing done.
Yeah, right now the game is in the design phase or redesign phase. It gets prettied up, hopefully. There's a artist working on the card art.
That's
or
right.
starting to work on it.
Yeah.
And we're planning to replace the food tokens with a track.
Yeah.
For each player. And let's see how that turns out. But I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah.
No, as you say, the game is the game development is finished in terms of the design of it. I'm really happy with the shape we've got it in now. It's just the art and design, the graphic design and the art that's coming together, and then we should have it on Kickstarter in January is the aim.
Yeah, the game itself is rock solid, I think.
Okay. Are there any other questions either of you want to ask me? No?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much for joining me. I'm going to do this again next week for Dwarf, and I'm probably going to do some more of these for Maeshowe over the next couple of months before we get to the Kickstarter as well, in case anybody else wants to participate. But you're welcome to join me again for any or all of them if you want. When
will you stream the Dwarf demo?
I put the time out there, but it's next Saturday. I think it's later than now.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe 4 o'clock my time. So
yeah,
or 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's trying to pick times that work for Europe and America as much as possible.
All right.
Okay. Well, thanks
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.